Hey guys, welcome to the Left Atrium podcast. I'm your host, Jason, with my co host, Dennis, and our very special guest, Audrey. And we're here to talk about social media and basically everything all about it.
Yeah.
So,
Before we begin, can you give us a little introduction, Odds?
Hi, I'm Audrey. I go to Bren. I'm obviously in the same batch. I'm a senior with Dennis and Jason. Before this whole pandemic things I was into, I'm a competitive swimmer. I love writing and stuff. I'm a forward editor, and yeah, those are the most important things.
Wow, that's a whole bibliography, autobiography. Okay. You know, bef- speaking of before the pandemic, you know, before the pandemic, I never really thought I'd download TikTok. Like, I genuinely despised TikTok before the pandemic. I think it's because of the fact that they keep stealing like a lot of the songs that I was into before, like Lottery, like the Renegade stuff like that. Like that song was like
Yeah,
one
I
of my
remember you were upset about
yeah.
that.
I was so
I
mad about that.
yeah.
Yeah, and now look, it's like after during the pandemic, it's now part of my like daily routine to check TikTok in the morning.
I know it's the not really new, but it's the addiction. And I think why before the pandemic it was a joke. It was it's people trying to copy Vine or like it's the bad Vine. But now it's like one of the top social medias. I don't know why there's been I mean, there's obviously reasons, but I don't know why everyone's so crazy about it, but yeah, it's addicting, really, really addicting. So
Yeah,
I feel like it's kind of like the perfect template for social media because it's very similar to Vine, something that used to be extremely popular a few years ago. But I feel like it was popular because it was like each video was really easy to make. It's all really short, and you can pretty much just watch any content you want and not realize how much time you spent on it. So it's just really easy to just enjoy things on that app.
yeah.
yeah,
Like I feel
for
like
sure. It's like
the short video format, the short video format is very addictive. Like I could spend 1 to 2 hours just looking at TikTok because of the fact that like the videos are so short, and then the algorithm just sets it up for you. You know, it's
yeah,
it's
according to what you like, literally the for you page.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys didn't know,
Actually,
Jason,
yeah.
just a little insight. I was on a call with Audrey like early this morning, and then she asked me like,
What's
I told her
this?
I told her that we have the podcast later, and that she had to do something like before the podcast, and she was like, "Do I have to make an outline?" like, she
Shut
like
up.
oh
Why is that coming up into the conversation?
no. Okay, no, I just find it funny because like when it's just like a casual talk, right? You have it's not necessarily focused on one topic. Well, it's like generally in the same realm, but like you kind of branch off into different like
Mm.
parts. And then I think Audrey's kind of like sticking to like TikTok, and like trying to keep it concise because it's within her essay outline that she prepared beforehand.
Okay, first of
Wow.
all, I wasn't planning to like just talk about TikTok. I wanted to talk about, okay, you want to know that is I was planning to talk about social media in general, not just TikTok, although that's a big part. Like I've noticed that with the quarantine, with the pandemic, everyone has been using Instagram more and more for various reasons, like whether it's starting their own online business or project and they use it as a platform to connect to their audience. Or just simply they're on there more posting, just being active. Something that I'm really like kind of into right now in terms of like I'm interested in why it's happening is kind of like a cultural social phenomenon. Are people are using Instagram as a way to kind of be social justice warriors by sharing posts that I've talked to you about this, Dennis, by sharing posts that they believe in. Like, for example, something about climate change. If you post something about climate change on your story, all of a sudden you're so informed, you're so intelligent, and you're sharing your knowledge with the world. But then you have to take a step back and think, are you actually doing something good, or are you putting on a show because you want people to think that you're good? You know?
I feel like from like a um, I think it's either cynical or nihilistic, but I feel like from that standpoint, yeah, you're very much right. There's really just no point. I don't think really that many people would actually look at your social media. I mean, sorry, your story and be like, oh wow, I should definitely do something about this, and just have a whole bunch of people actually working together on helping this project or contribution or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like, oh, sorry, what?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Finish your.
Um, I feel like just being aware, and I mean, for example, like the like Black Lives Matter, and just talking about all the injustices that were happening and specific people that were actually hurt, and having to share those problems with the rest of the world. I think that really just does help with just awareness, and that could actually bring specific individuals who may
For
not
sure.
have known about it. Yeah, yeah,
I feel
just
like
it helps.
something that mixes into that, like, is the fact that we are on lockdown and people are like frustrated. So the tendency is to
Yeah.
like get angry about literally every single thing because of the frustration. They needed like an outlet to be frustrated because
Mm.
from what I've experienced since the pandemic started, or sorry, since quarantine started, is that a lot of like a lot of like very um what's the word very common or normal like story news stories, like um let's say uh Cardinal Tagle, which is like the Cardinal of Manila. He's now working with the Pope. um let's say like there was this one instance where they posted that he tested positive for COVID, you know. And obviously
Mm.
it's a big thing because he's a um he's a religious figure, especially one of the more influential ones here in the Philippines, being a very liberal and progressive church leader in the Philippines. And but then somehow the people in the comment section spun it in a way saying that it's someone else's fault, and it's not necessarily the fact that they're not looking at things objectively as they should. Sometimes they think there's a whole like a deeper situation or a deeper story happening at the current like at that specific story, instead of looking at it like how it should be, which is just like, oh no, this influential figure is sick, we should like pray over him if you're religious, it's kind of frustrating, especially since for me, I've been a I've been keeping up with current events for years already, and
Really?
so I've been keeping up with current events for like years already, right? And it's like all of a sudden people are experts in you know reading. Sorry, all of a sudden people are experts after reading like one or two posts from Rappler, you know, like because you have to consider it like this way, right? You are, let's say, I okay. For me, I'm not gatekeeping like reading current events because I really endorse people reading current events, but sometimes people spin it in a way into like thinking that um spin it in a way thinking that they're like activists just by reading it. It's not supposed to be. You're not supposed to read it
Yeah, that's
to be
exactly what I
activist.
was
It's
talking
supposed to be informed. You can redirect that into activism, but then from its objective, objective sort of motive is supposed to be informed. I'm not. Yeah. Okay.
about.
I'll just stop from here because I feel like this will like last for like 30, 40 minutes. I'm very passionate about current events. I have opinions people don't like.
You don't say. Anyways, so um no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that basically is what I also think, like, okay, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with reading and being aware and sharing what you know with others, especially if you have done enough research. I know this is a reliable source. I know that what I'm spreading is good or it's important, and I'm doing it in a healthy and safe way. However, I think there is a certain line, and I don't know where that line is, but I think there's a certain line where people, as I said, people are just doing it. Like they're acting as if the spreading of like the posting of the Instagram story of climate change is a political good in itself. Like the work is done. I have an opinion, so like that's what I am, but that's my work. And it didn't used to be that way. It used to be, oh, for you to really be considered an activist, or for you to really be considered doing something, you have to be more proactive. You really have to go out there and do something. I know during the pandemic it's just kind of hard to do, but you know, this has been a problem that's been ongoing ever since social media has really become so popular. People are taking like, for example, I mean, of course, I don't want to say anyone, like, you know, people I follow on social media, they post like thing after thing after thing about political stuff. And, you know, you can't help but wonder, does that person like really care about it? Or they thought, oh my goodness, this is something like important that is kind of relevant to my personal agenda of wanting to look good. So I'm going to post it to my story, you know? Like when there's how much, like the whole Black Lives Matter, again, sorry to get kind of like political, that whole, what's it, the post the black photo thing?
Blackout Tuesday.
What did that do?
Yeah.
Like, what was that? You know, like, oh my God, I want to get hated on or something. No, disclaimer, I fully support that movement and what it stands for. I really think that change needs to come in that area. Like, it's definitely something that is important. But again, going back to the issue at hand, um, like what good do those kinds of social media trends do? What good does it do, you know?
Yeah. And remember, because one of the big examples of this that I've experienced was Audrey. Remember, I'm not gonna say what the specific issue was, but remember
Yeah.
um, our bet where
Oh, yeah.
yeah, basically it was about this issue in local politics. Um, to sum it up, basically the general public or specifically social media didn't like it. The general populace didn't like it. Uh, but then, in my opinion, we kind of overreacted a little bit. I don't want to specify into what specific issue that is, uh,
Yeah, it's kind of,
but
it's really a gray
yeah,
area.
it's yeah. But then I told Audrey at the time, I was telling her that I feel like people are just over exaggerating this because of their frustrations in the pandemic and virtue signaling and stuff like that. And that my bet is that
Yeah.
in 4 months nothing's gonna change. Or looking at the general picture, nothing really changed. You know, and it's a part of the frustration again with the whole like lockdown and stuff. A lot of people are having pent up like frustrations because they're very limited to what they're doing, because it's not just for themselves but rather like for the well-being of their community and their surrounding. Yeah, anything to add,
uh,
Jason?
I'm trying to think. I feel like that's just something that humans do. That's just who we are. I feel like we are more attracted to stories that are more exaggerated. You know, there's
True.
just like
Yeah.
the characteristics of the story are very much more, I guess, exciting. Maybe that's not the appropriate word, but just like sensationalizing events and just creating articles that would attract more people. That just is something that we are often lean to rather than more factual and objective based things. So I think that's just something that we do a lot.
You guys think that this is because of the education system?
I
you know
think, whoa, okay, first of all, there's a lot of issues, right, that we've
yeah.
discussed. But just for going back to social media and the whole, oh, social justice warrior, virtue signaling, I want to show that I'm doing good. I do think to an extent that the schools should teach us like how does social media affect, oh my God, I feel like I'm in an IB class. How does social media affect the way we view our own identity and the way we view ourselves, like, and our role in being informed, you know? Like our role, oh, sorry, our role in being responsible and like being well knowledgeable about all the current events, you know? But like, how has social media kind of aggravated our worst human tendencies and impulses to always want to make ourselves look good, you know? Like, that's something that we haven't really been taught, and it should be talked about more. Like, I feel like, okay, no dissing to any school, but I feel like the way that schools teach about social media and needs a little bit of nothing. It's okay.
No,
All
no.
right,
I'm
we'll
gonna
just
I'm
have to
gonna
cut
cut I'm
that
gonna edit
part.
that out. I'm gonna edit that out, but no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it for the record.
Whoa. That
I'm gonna
was
say it for
weird. We jumped forward into the future. Nothing happened. Whoa.
okay. Can we just all right? Let's start a new. God, wait.
Whoa,
One.
whoa. You know those like YouTube transitions where like vlogs are like they jump up and down, it's like whew, you know? It's like
No.
whoa, we just bleeped out everything that we talked about in the last minute. Whoa. What did we talk about? No one knows. Alright. So
So what are we gonna
YouTube.
move to? Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
I mean, that is a legitimate topic. That's pretty good to talk about. But what are we gonna talk about
Okay, I mean,
exactly?
I don't know what to talk about. I YouTube a lot. Like, what do I like to watch though? I like watching. Okay, some people might think this is a surprise. I like what Dennis knows. I like watching gaming channels a little bit. Don't go too hard on me because I'm not like an expert like you guys, okay? But I do like watching Sukuno now. Dennis introduced me to that. And
Saikuno,
yeah,
really? Oh my god.
yeah. And of course, PewDiePie. A lot. Oh my gosh! If anyone watches this, like, and they know me, they're gonna be surprised. But yeah, I like watching that, and I like watching Kitchen Nightmares. Man, there's something so addicting about that.
Why do you sound sad when you say that? Like,
I don't know why I'm like ashamed. Like, if you go through
okay,
like my history, like in a day, it's all like Kitchen Nightmares, and I just can't stop watching it. And I don't know. Okay, you know what? I think someone should. I'm gonna be quiet.
okay, fine. Since we're talking about like, okay, in a previous topic we talked about politics, and now we're talking about YouTube. Here's a genuine question: do you guys think social media, specifically like popular media, in YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, do you guys think that they are liberal in terms of content?
So we can talk about
No,
that, but
in
we can
their
talk
okay,
about.
within the political spectrum, right? Within a political spectrum, where would you put social media?
We're gonna start fighting if we talk about
Uh-oh.
it.
No, no, no,
Um,
no. Where would you put the social media in general?
like in general,
Yeah,
liberal.
liberal left or right? Because right is capitalist, left is socialist. Public
Um,
market.
I think a little bit of both, but more or less left.
Left, really? Socialist? I think they'd be in a
I feel
private
like I don't
market.
know enough.
Yeah.
I honestly don't. I just know that a lot of social media in general very liberal because we want progress, we want change. Like these are the narratives that you see on social media. So it is very liberal. In all honesty, I don't have enough expertise to differentiate between left and right with like authority. So yeah.
How about you, Jason? Where would you put like social media as a whole?
I do agree with Audrey. It's pretty much just all more liberal, and I'm not very sure about anything about politics in the political spectrum. So honestly, I can just say liberal, and I feel like it just represents the younger generation since I'm pretty sure and I don't have any statistics, but there are more young people on the internet and people that grow up on the internet than older people. So
Yeah. And then isn't it like we also like as a group, you, Jason, me, and like Francis, when we took the test, we were all like in the same quadrant. I don't want to say it because we might get flagged for having that specific belief, but we were all in the same quadrant, right? And then we were like
mhm.
probably our
Wait, is
entire
this
batch.
me or me?
No, I'm talking to Jason. It's directed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guest. Okay. Okay. So
You don't
we
like cut these parts out. We're just so to each other. Okay.
no. We're keeping this in. We're keeping this in.
We need the minutes, guys.
We
We
need
need
the
the
minutes.
minutes.
Okay. So we all like agree that like probably our batchmates and everyone within our generation like will stick to that general quadrant, right? I don't
Yeah.
want to say it, but like it's the same as yours, odds. It's the same as your quadrant because
Can you please, can you send it to me before it goes out, just so I can make sure? Please.
so I'm editing
Send it.
2 separate videos now.
Ah,
Uh-oh.
you know what? Just continue. Continue.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry to anyone who's gonna witness this. It's just
Oh man, I did
okay.
not expect
Anyways,
any less from a podcast with Audrey. All right, I'm not admit it's not a bad thing,
what were
okay?
you thinking of
The
this? Do you
best of
think that we would
friends,
all
guys. The
would
best
both
of
be
friends.
able to?
Okay, no,
Whenever me and Dennis are, whenever Dennis and I argue, it's like a civil war. Okay, but anyways, continue. What were we saying?
wait, can you please elaborate on that? What do you mean civil war?
No, because we usually
Who's
have
pro?
no.
Okay, no, I'm
Oh
editing that out.
my god. Okay. See, this is the problem with having me.
Uh,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. If I don't know if anyone's gonna see this, but
Yes, they
the reason
will.
why the reason the reason why Dennis and I fight or argue like very intensely is because we have a lot of same views, but then when we have differing views on something, I just like I will not be swayed. I usually start yelling, shouting, getting very aggressive. And Dennis will just like calmly keep saying like what he believes in, and it aggravates me to no end that he just stays so calm. And it just gets worse and worse and worse until like I'm surprised that no one in Alabang has like reported me for like being loud or something. Because
Didn't your
that's
parents
yeah,
ask
that's
you why
how
you were
mad
yelling?
I get. Huh?
Didn't your parents ask you why you were yelling at one point or something?
Yeah. And then Pearl came in and she was like, "Why are you like are you like in danger or something? Like why are you yelling?"
It's the
Okay.
art of
What are we
debate.
talking about? This is gonna be impossible. Okay, just
Oh,
keep going. I feel bad for
Okay.
Jason.
What are
that's
you?
fine.
Okay.
We can cut this out. It's cool. It's cool.
All right,
Yeah.
Jason. What are your
What were
thoughts?
we talking about? Ah,
Okay. Do you guys think okay, we've discussed this already, but like we've all unanimously agreed that um, social media as a whole is a liberal platform, right? Right?
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Now, question is that bad?
I mean, my IB history knowledge is kicking in. Jason, we gotta analyze this from an IB history HL perspective. I
I
think
can't.
it.
Yo, yo.
Cut this out. I'm sorry. Cut this out, please.
Okay,
For
okay,
for my teacher.
all right.
I can't. I think everything has a bias, or this is kind of. Why does everything have to link back to IB? Oh my goodness.
It's
I feel
cast,
like
but
everything. That's true. I feel like everything has a bias or a prejudice, right? Like that's unavoidable. It's undeniable. It's in literally almost every aspect of something that has an opinion, right? But I think it's not. necessarily bad because you can't avoid it. So it's not something that's like, oh my goodness, there are ways we can prevent this is something really, really bad. But there are ways that we can learn how to process it and learn how to kind of dissect it in a way that oh man, I just completely lost my train of thought there. But um there's a way that we can learn how to take the bias and prejudice of social media and kind of learn how to differentiate between what is fact and what is the bias. And like as long as people know how to do that, then technically that should eliminate or reduce a lot of the harm of social media having a liberal kind of filter.
So is liberalism bad?
Going there, you know how many people are gonna be like, liberalism bad. I don't want to put any political, I mean, I guess I did earlier, but I don't want to put any political beliefs on this. But no, I don't think it's bad. I don't think as long as you're not going against a group of people, specifically targeting them, hurting them, I don't think anything is wrong as long as you're not doing that. You know, don't be hurtful, be nice, be kind. So, yeah.
True. I mean, there are two sides to a political spectrum. Well, the general belief there are the liberals and the conservatives, and those tend to be quite subjective, to the country, because liberalism in well, I don't quote me on this, but from what I know, um, conservatism in Canada is different from the conservatism in the U.S. Conservatism in the Philippines has a different connotation as to conservatism in the U.S. Because we're relaying this back to the U.S. because that's like the general like background that people tend to look at is how is the U.S. handling this situation, like this dichotomy of political beliefs. Um, and I feel like in social media, there's also, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a liberal political opinion. There's nothing wrong with having any political opinion that is, unique to yourselves. But again, as long as there's no malicious intention behind it, us if it does, sorry, if it doesn't have any malicious intentions behind it, then therefore your political opinion is good. But then if there is some sort of malicious intent behind your belief, or sort of using your belief as a justification for malicious intent, now that's a different that's a different like question all in all, like whether or not what is considered malicious.
Yeah.
Uh, Sorry, to clarify, what you're talking about is it pretty much just like when you're talking from one person to another about like politics or just news in general? Is that what
um
you're talking about?
no, we're what's it called, we're dissecting the fact that uh, our general consensus that social media in itself is liberal, right? And we're
Mm-hmm.
dissecting what it means to be a liberal and what it means to be a conservative, since it is subjective to you know different groups of people, like from different countries and stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
basically, all in all, we're saying that there is no wrong political opinion as long as there is no malicious intent, or it's not used for malicious intent, right?
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a big no-no. But other than that, I think people need to stop. I think that goes back to the whole conversation about people need to stop. Okay, trying to connect us back to social media. This is something I've talked about with Dennis and a lot of my friends. Um, People often make really bad representations of another like political or social side based off of the worst representation that the media feeds them. Like for example, if you go on the news, okay, I'm not going to name anything because even though we're talking about politics, for some reason we are all skirting around like what our political beliefs are. If you go on a news if you go on a news website and you see, oh my goodness, this crazy political party is doing all these crazy political things, and you're like, oh my goodness, they're crazy, they're ridiculous, they're crazy. But in reality, that's just a small minority of what that political group actually represents. And you start to form these misconceptions about them, and it just makes the divide between the both parties even worse, you know. And it shouldn't. We need to start realizing that you need to like look past what the media feeds you and say, like, is this all that there is, or is there more behind this story? Is there more behind this narrative? And sorry, this is almost completely unrelated, but it just popped into my mind, and I think this is like the perfect topic to talk about. Have you guys watched or heard about The Social Dilemma on Netflix?
I've heard of it, but I haven't
Mm,
like read into it or watched it.
yeah, me too.
So basically, okay, sorry because like if you watched it, oh my goodness, if only you knew. So like it's basically talking about how big corporations, like I'm talking like Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, all the social medias, even like Google and stuff like that. Everyone knows that this happened, but this show really just put a spotlight on it. They take your personal information, right? Like, oh, what do you like Googling? Video games do you like playing? What kind of shows do you like watching? And they feed that to companies who will like now show you advertising. Like they take your personal information without you really knowing, and they just design a whole like social and online reality for you. And it's just crazy. That they track how much time you spend on a post. That's how to the detail it gets. Like if you're looking at a certain like Instagram post or something on like TikTok, if you rewatch it over and over again, for like example, they keep track of that. They monitor that. And that's
That's
why they will,
scary.
yeah. And then like they'll be like, oh my goodness, she really or he really liked that. And so the next day, that's why your timeline is filled with it, because they know that.
Wow. Imagine if you like fell asleep with the same video on repeat, but you don't actually like the video. That must suck. You know?
That's
Okay.
that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I was really I was really trying
Comedic relief, guys. Comedic
a
relief.
Yeah,
moment there, and
this
then
is
it's
the
just
worst
like I
Atrium pod.
fell asleep on it.
No, because that has happened to me before. I was on TikTok,
Like
No.
your poor
and then
CIA.
yeah, I was sent to a
Yeah.
okay, I was sent to a like a side of TikTok. Oh,
And
I think I'm gonna cut this out. I think I'm gonna cut
You
this
can.
yeah,
out.
I
All
think
right.
you should.
Please do.
Well, I
Keep
got
in that
sent.
part of what I said. I can't believe
No,
you're
yeah,
stealing
that's true. Okay,
my thunder.
but like, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, it's really scary.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, isn't like Amazon? Didn't Mr. Sam? Oh, whoops. Um, our computer teacher in ninth grade showed us this like app that can like show which certain websites are detecting whatever you're doing or something. I forgot what it was called, but like one of the websites that always keeps track on you is like, I believe. Don't quote me on this. Don't attack me on this. Is it's a company that rhymes with um Ramazon.
That is
That's
so
like one of the.
dumb.
That was like
Right. Couldn't you have done like okay, never mind.
Facebook.
No, okay. So certain big companies that we all know, all right, are using our personal information, is what you're saying, and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I feel like I'm gonna cut that out, or else I get swing for slander. Okay. Moving on.
Moving on.
This has dived into more of a political podcast rather than one about social media. It's like
Well, I
So
feel like they
let's
are
go.
attached.
They
yeah,
are very
it's like
connected. Yeah.
politics, but then in the background of social media. That's probably the best way to
Mm.
describe it. But yeah,
I feel like there, no matter what, there will always be a medium that whoever wants to represent the government would want to try to advertise themselves on. So right now it's the internet. Before is TV. Even before that was probably
That's
on
true.
newspapers and everything like that.
Yeah,
So
that's
I feel like it's always inevitable.
Mm. Oh,
That's all.
actually, one thing that I actually find like pretty interesting is this like one instance in a U.S. presidential election was Dukakis versus I believe Bush. I'm not. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure, but it was Dukakis and some
Don't quote me
Republican
on
candidate.
that. You just said it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, I
I
know
had.
exactly. Don't quote me on that, but I know for sure it's Dukakis because um, initially when the race was beginning, Dukakis was leading in the polls significantly. Like he was the favored winner, but then all of a sudden the Republican Party switched up their strategy. Instead of highlighting the good that their candidate like the good that the candidate has, they focused on their attention onto Dukakis and showing how like um, Dukakis is like this bad guy and how like liberalism is a liability and stuff. Granted, this was like I think 80s or 90s, so they believed that liberalism was like not as good as what we think it is today. Um, but they switched up their strategy into focusing the general public's attention on this unknown candidate because the candidate didn't have much of a political presence prior to the elections. So instead of instead of um, instead of like promoting what the Republican Party had, they just focused on like the mystery behind this specific candidate. And what I find interesting is that in the end, the Republicans won. Like they won the White House. Like their candidate won, and Dukakis was left, just a candidate. And it led to this infamous debate the the Republican candidate and Dukakis, and the very notorious question of like if your if your daughter got like this criminal act onto her, would you impose the death penalty on that person? Because Dukakis was very anti-death penalty, and then to like the crowd's dismay, Dukakis said no to death penalty, and that's like it became such an iconic moment in the presidential debate that they said that that's the reason why he lost the elections.
Facebook a
Cancel
little
culture.
bit. Oh, that is a good one. Oh, don't get me started. Actually, okay, I will get
I'll
started on
remove the
this.
Dukakis part and just add this.
Okay, so basically cancel culture started a few years ago, I think, when celebrity, especially social media influencer, online controversies started to become like a really big thing. And everyone was like, if someone was racist or sexist or like did something really, really bad, everyone was like, cancel that person. We're not gonna care about them. We're not gonna support them anymore. But then even if they didn't support them anymore, supposedly, they still did care about that person very much to the extent they would go on their page or they would go to their fans or whatever and they would hate them and like hurl all these insults at them, like really bad, violent insults at them because they're canceling them, right? And like, it's good to acknowledge when there are really bad people in the world that need to be labeled as such, right? Like that's fine. But then when, especially in today's times when like people tend to be kind of like, there's this whole thing, people are more sensitive nowadays, right? Like if you do some one wrong thing, people, the social justice warriors will come and find you and cancel you, which is kind of true to an extent, but that's a whole other issue. Like sometimes people get canceled for the smallest thing, right? For something small that they did that could have misinterpreted or just something really small and petty. And people will use that as an excuse to kind of mob mentality attack this person and like wish really harmful things about them, which I think is so messed up. Like, what is the point of canceling that kind of negativity in the world if you're just going to bring it out yourself? The whole point should be positivity moving forward. What can we do to change the systems that are allowing people like this to have a platform? That's what the conversation should be like. How do we move forward from this? But now it's just become negative. We hate these people. We hate these people. They're horrible. Like cancel them. It's all about the negativity, which just becomes destructful at some point. So thoughts on that?
I feel like I find it ironic how some of these people are like, oh, this person did a bad thing in the past, and then they say that like, oh, they didn't change and stuff like that. But then if you go through their like posts, it's like, oh my gosh, look how I am today compared to like last year, oh my gosh, I look so different. Like these are the same people who have challenges of like, oh, me 1 year ago challenge or something like that. They're the same people that advocate for that, and yet they don't support change in a person that they've canceled. It's I find it kind of ironic, and hypocritical actually.
Yeah. There's a lot of hypocrisy definitely in this issue. Like I think the whole problem is sometimes people have a hard time putting themselves in other people's perspectives, especially relating to cancel culture. Like when you're saying all these mean, hurtful things, you're not thinking about, of course, I'm not trying to excuse the people who have done horrible things, like people who have assaulted other people or really been a bad human being. But once again, when you're spreading that kind of hate and negativity, like as a cancel culture person, like we really think that person should be canceled. Think about what you're doing and think about the people that you're attacking, especially if it's for like a small issue. They're human beings. And who
Right.
are you? Why are you getting so obsessed over something when you could be just more positive in your own life? Like just that kind of thing. Like there are so many people, they just get so obsessed. They think it's so important. They're so important. Like, oh, I need to cancel Kylie Jenner. Um I need to cancel this politician, this old celebrity. I need to cancel them. Why is that such a huge part of your life? Like, sorry, okay, again, I don't have any personal opinion. If you do what you want with your life, right? But when it comes to hurting other people, find something better in life to do than just hating on people all the time. Like, start like sewing or cooking or do something else, you know?
Right.
So
Like I feel like that kind of mentality like heavily affects like big industries like the entertainment industry. And like in our last podcast, something like maybe simple as anime, if you're really just that afraid to show a specific thing to help relate that message to the audience, I think that would just really hurt the way we could actually communicate with other people.
Yeah.
And it just really hurts everyone just overall. So
we've just actually hit our 45-minute mark. Any last words from the two of you guys? Jason?
good
Okay.
podcast.
Odds, how about you?
Thank you, Jason and Dennis, for inviting me here. And follow me on Instagram
I
at
was gonna say
Audrey
that, but okay, I guess
underscore.
take my line.
Can you just like put it in like in the caption, like at Audrey Lim?
I'm gonna put it at the bottom right corner video, so people have to watch it. It's it's to entice them. You know, think like a businessman.
Marketing.
Yeah, marketing exactly.
Genius. That's where it's at.
You guys can catch her on Instagram at what is it?
What do you mean? What is it? Audrey Lim underscore.
Right,
Oh,
this has been
look.
the Left Atrium podcast. Thank you guys for listening. There's when the time this well at current time this podcast the elections are in 4 days, so go out and vote if you are eligible to vote. Um,
You're in
but
the
obviously,
Philippines. Votes
yeah.
are
Well,
17.
no, okay, we don't know if people are watching this from the States or anything because we do have classmates there. Okay, um, so please go out and vote and you know, obviously practice, health standards, because COVID is still a thing, surprisingly, it's still a thing. Um, and also for those who are in the Philippines, there's gonna be a huge typhoon, so stay safe, stay indoors, stay dry, and thank you guys for watching.